Hello and welcome to the Shine Your Light Love podcast. My name is Amber. I am your host, and I have a beautiful topic for you today. I am a founder times 9, and I have been an entrepreneur and a mamapreneur for 19 years. And that whole time I've been a stay-at-home mama, and I homeschooled my son. And so one of the really big important things that I find when you are a mamapreneur, and especially if you are a single mama like I am, self-care is of the utmost importance. So today we're going to talk about my best self-care tips for when you are a multi-passionate mamapreneur with multiple businesses, and even deeper into this if you are a single mama. So if that sounds like you, this is going to be a great episode for you. So let's begin. The number one tip I have for self-care is you've got to make yourself a priority and pour into your own cup so that you can pour into another's, which is your loved ones, your children, your clients. You have got to make time for yourself, the very most important thing. And I would actually, as a caveat, I would say the number one thing for me is making priority for time with God, reading the Bible, doing Bible study, just quiet time, being in relationship with God is my first thing. And if you can do that upon waking, ideally, that's beautiful. I really feel that it sets the tone for your day. You can pray prayers over, God, what would you have me do today? Who would you have me serve? Excuse me. And so then once you've had quiet time with God, and I like to make it really sacred, light a candle, create holy, sacred space as you pour into yourself, as you pour into your relationship with God. Then the next thing I love to do is, focus on something that's going to grow your mindset, grow your business, grow your, different categories of life, whether that's health and wellness. Some days I like to go on a long nature walk on our farm and do a lot of earthing, bare feet on the soil. That really helps me to ground into the present moment, to be in my body, to be in my feminine energy. So being time in nature is a big self-care tip that I would say is really integral to having, a well-balanced life that feels nourishing and fulfilling and purposeful. So while you're outside, bring a yoga mat and stretch it out and do a quick little yin yoga slow flow. I love to do yoga in nature. I love to move my body in nature, go on hikes, ride bikes, things like that. I do feel that moving the body is key to, you don't want to be overthinking or thinking about your to-do list all day. But if you give it to God in those first moments in the morning, He will give you your to-do list and tell you the things that you'll feel guided to do. So really listening and being in your receptive energy is important. People often ask me, like, how do you do it all? How do you have all these businesses? But honestly, most of them are passive. And I've been in business so many years that I get to pick and choose what I do when. So one day might look like writing an article for a magazine that I write for, which might include photography, which might include art or hand lettering. It might include various aspects of various businesses. And that's the fun and joy of it for me, is that it's always different. And then, I might have an idea for a coaching masterclass or training or workshop or in-person event or retreat that I want to host. And I sort of just pray, and God, where would you have me do this? Would it be in person? Would it be online at Insight Timer? Where does it need to be? And so I listen to the guidance, what I'm feeling excited and passionate about. And I also run it through my human design, which is very key, which is what I teach in my Roots and Wings program, that you really need to align your life to your human design, because your human design is going to show you energetically how you're meant to live life, excuse me, and do life. And for me, as a manifesting generator, which is why I have multiple businesses and it gives me energy to do all of them, I love to be led by passion, by excitement, by joy, by things that delight me and light me up, because I'm a sacral authority, which is all about creativity, passion, sensuality, all of these things. So I was created to respond to life, and the things that light me up are clues as to what I'm meant to be doing. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into the maturation process of human design, which is all about really listening to that divine alignment with when and how. So I'll leave that for another podcast episode. But there is a deepening, there is a maturation of human design. It's not just all about listening whenever you feel the whim. You have to run it through um, your authority, which mine is sacral. But I'm also made to respond. So that means I'm not supposed to just jump right into everything just because it feels like a yes in that moment. Sometimes things have to line up. Sometimes other people have to join it. So it's a very fluidity that happens when you live from your human design. If you are one of the three energy types, which is manifester, generator, and manifesting generator. Now, projector and reflector are completely different. But so I like to move through my day with as much self-care as possible. Like from the way I eat and create meals and, just all of it. The way I dress for the day is an act of self-care. I feel like we are the artists of our lives, and life is poetry, life is art. And when you really begin to slow down and live very mindfully and intentionally, you start seeing how you can, make every moment a sacred act of self-care. From the slow way in which you put your lotion on to the way you're washing dishes in the sink and noticing the sunlight pouring in the window and giving thanks and being in gratitude and joy for each and every moment. We have little crystals in all the windows and they make rainbows on the floor. And, my son and I are both like, wow, those look so beautiful. And just when the light catches it at just the right moment, it'll light up the whole room. With one of them makes a really big rainbow all across, and it'll stretch across from room to room and from the dining room to the living room. And then the little tiny ones make dancing rainbows because they kind of spin and they're tinier ones. So looking for the magic, the serendipity, the synchronicities in each and every moment, and the playfulness of life, the joy of life, be in wonder and awe of the sunsets, the rainbows, the flowers blooming after a long winter. These are all sacred acts of self-care. Um, and I don't feel that there's like a certain amount of hours that you're working in your business. I work very little hours in my business, but I feel like every moment is an act of receptivity to listening to God. Like, if I'm in a store and like the other day, I felt led to speak to somebody about art, and it was a beautiful thing that made me cry in the car because she didn't believe she could be an artist. And I was able to impart, you know, and speak over her that she already is an artist. And God used me to empower and encourage this young woman. And I feel like that is what I do. I move through my life as a vessel, as an open heart to just, God, show me what you'd have me do in this moment. And I think that's the really beautiful thing about self-care. It's not always about you. It's about living in your purpose and giving glory to God in each and every moment. Because, excuse me, our spiritual blessings and our spiritual giftedness, all the things we're really good at, like creativity, empowering others, speaking, podcasting, writing, poetry, dancing, cooking, whatever your thing is, God gave you those gifts and you're meant to share them and express them every single day. So, I have an exercise in my Roots and Wings program, which will be linked in the show notes if you want more information about that. And I'm giving you a discount for being a podcast listener. So there will be a coupon code in the show notes. Be sure you use that so you get a coupon towards the program. Roots and Wings is my signature program. It's my best-selling, most popular program where I help you live an Ephesians 3:20 life, which is exceedingly abundantly more than you could ask, dream, believe, or imagine. God just wants to knock your socks off with your dreams. It's beyond anything you could imagine. I know we're talking about self-care, but it all relates. It's purpose. It's, when you're pouring into yourself, it means you're feeling worthy. It means you're feeling enough. It means you love yourself deeply and you know that you have value and purpose and that God has beautiful things, Jeremiah 29:11, that he wants to do through your life. And to me, mothering is a ministry. And when I am mothering and parenting and imparting knowledge to my son, that all is, to me, that feels nourishing to me because it's purposeful. So I think self-care has a lot to do with, it's not really about like going and get a massage and like eating organic foods that make you feel good, although it can be. But to me, when you pair it with purpose, your self-care can really make a difference in this world and in the lives of others, as we're called to do as the Proverbs 31 woman and mama and entrepreneur. And so, if you can just sit and think about when you are thinking, oh, I really need to do some self-care today, or what am I going to do today to pour into myself? If you can find a way to also pour into others while you're pouring into yourself. Like, I was out thrifting and like I get so much joy out of just wandering and like puttering around in a thrift shop. And number one, it's self-care, but it's also purposeful because it's a sacred self-care act for the planet, because I'm really big into sustainability and buying less, buying nothing. I love the buy nothing groups. And so for me, my mission, my values, my purpose is to live that out, to embody that. And shopping thrift is one of the ways I do that. And I feel so good, and I'm making a difference and giving things new life that would have been thrown in a landfill. And so that puttering around in the thrift store was very soul nourishing for me, but also I was open and receptive to listen to God, and that I saw an opportunity to be a mentor to a young woman, which is a big part of my purpose. Um, and then my son got to, hear the story about it, and like he understood that wow, he didn't even realize like that was going to happen. Um, anyways, and so it's just so beautiful that it can be a teachable moment for parenting. So in that one little moment, it was a self-care for me that nourished and filled me, and I was able to inspire and encourage and empower a young woman to believe in herself, to know her worth, to point her back to God. And and then also that became a teachable moment, like for my son, because I got to tell him, well, this is what happened. And, I was going in there to fill my cup, but I was able to fill someone else's cup. And I thought that was a really beautiful full circle moment when you're living in your joy, living in your passion, living in your purpose, doing things that light you up, doing things that matter to you. Like for me, which is thrifting, like sustainable, slow fashion, slow, like buying everything thrift if possible, and antiques and vintage. Like, I love it. Our family has an antiques business, and I've grown up around it and taught my son all about it. And so it's something I'm very passionate about. So I love how God used these moments that I was just thinking, well, what can I do today to fill my cup? But I was also open, what can I do to fill others' cups wherever I go, right? So I invite you to move through your day as a vessel, an open vessel that you can, like a chalice, like a cup holding water. Yes, you want to be filled by that nourishing water that like God gives us when we're like doing things we love, but also you want to always be a poured out woman, but not to your detriment. If you're overwhelmed or in burnout, then that's not who I'm talking to. You absolutely need to fill your cup and get back to a place of fullness, right? A place of fully resourced. And so once you're in that place, and you'll feel radiant, you'll feel glorious, you'll be deeply in your feminine energy. You can tell when you're not getting the right amount of fullness and self-care if you are, you know, you'll just feel it. You'll feel like you're in your masculine energy trying to, tell people what to do, or trying to plan your day too much, or trying to figure things out the masculine energy is very analytical and very mind-based. The feminine is very body-based, very heart-based, very feelings-based and relationships-based and nurturing, nourishing. And so everything a woman does when she's in her feminine energy is from the place of connection and heart-centered and soulful and deep and passionate. And, there's this aliveness that comes from that place. So if you're feeling overstressed and busy and all of those things that the world tells you is good, it's actually really not. We're not made to be doing. We're made to be human beings. And that's really what the feminine energy is all about. Letting life come to you and responding to it. Like the woman I saw in the store, I responded to her. Now, if I was up in my head thinking, oh, we got to get groceries, we got to go do this, we got to do that, then I wouldn't have been receptive to that moment that God gives us millions of moments each day if we're open and receptive. And if we're willing to see the serendipities and the synchronicities that we're being guided and led by Him in each and every moment. So, yes, holistic wellness is another thing that I really feel strongly for. I feel like when you're nourishing your body with healthy foods and eating slowly and mindfully and ideally growing your own food in your garden or eating as locally and seasonally as possible, I feel like that is just how we were created to thrive. Adam was in the Garden of Eden, right? Adam and Eve started in a garden. So if you can get back to that like homesteading, permaculture, gardening lifestyle, do it as best as you can. And if you're in the city, have an herb garden in your kitchen windowsill. Start somewhere, but just start planting those seeds, literally and figuratively, and energetically. Like the seeds you plant will grow. And so what seeds are you planting in your life, in your day, in your day to day? So, so nourishing with beautiful foods and for your kids, it's beautiful if they help you grow them. That's beautiful. That's another, self-care can be gardening with your children, and that's also connection with your children. And so it can also be a teachable moment if you're a homeschool mama. You can talk about different things, talk about Bible verses. And so there's so many beautiful ways that self-care can be less about self and more about others. And so I just invite you to really, when you're running multiple businesses and you're a single mama, or if you're just, if you're married and running multiple businesses, the Proverbs 31 woman, she was a multi-passionate entrepreneur. So I feel like we all kind of have that in us to see that real estate is good for our family and for generational wealth, to see that investing and making our money make more money is wise, right? To be good stewards of the money we're blessed with and the resources we're blessed with. And again, like I talked about earlier, the spiritual gifts that God blesses us with. Some of you have gifts for hospitality. Then maybe you host a Bible study in your home, or a dinner for people to come over, and you can be that beautiful hostess. So there's lots of ways you can incorporate self-care into your day, but I invite you to pair it with your purpose. What you're here to do as a called woman. You're called to bless your children as a mother, to be a keeper of the home, to make your home feel nourishing and filled with beauty and love, and to ever be pointing your family, your friends, anyone who walks in your door of your home, and anyone you come into contact with, literally, in any place you go. You are the God that they see. They may not ever open their Bible, but your life and your spirit and your light and your joy and your purpose and your kindness and your sacred acts of self-care, right? When you're filled to overflowing, like if you think of a cup that's overflowing, you should be bubbling up with effervescence in life, because we are so beyond blessed. And if you start counting your blessings each and every day, each and every moment, and create a gratitude journal and thank God, thank you for this, thank you for the sunshine, thank you for the gas in our car, thank you for all the things, thank you for bringing me clients that I can impact and change their lives and transform their lives and help them. through the things that I've learned in my life. These are the beautiful gifts and blessings. And so I hope that you will, really journal on this today. I invite you to journal and say, God, how would you invite me to use my self-care time as also a time of purpose? Now, I'm not saying every single self-care thing you do should always be others focused, because you do absolutely need to just, have a bubble bath sometimes, and that's just going to be just for you. But there are many ways that you can, from a full cup, help others. And so that's just what I want you to be open to noticing those little teachable moments with your kids, or with clients, or with strangers that you meet out in the world. Just always have your heart open and be ready and willing to be used by God in any moment, because He always will show you people that need your kindness, need your love, need your grace, need you to show them how God sees them and loves them. So I'm going to close with a prayer. God, I pray that whoever is listening to this podcast today, that you just bless them abundantly, that you give them the peace that surpasses all understanding. If they have a busy life, if they are doing a lot of things and they're looking for some clarity and maybe what things they can let go of and what things they can focus on, I hope that you remind them of the things that nourish their hearts and souls, and give them ways that they could look at those. Sometimes those moments can also be ways to live out their purpose and their gifts as both a mother and a mamapreneur and a Proverbs 31 woman. And so, God, I ask that you bless these women, help them know how much you love them each and every day. Amen. Well, thank you all for listening to the podcast episode today. I have a free gift for you, or I might even put several free gifts in there for you in the show notes. So be sure you look at those, and make sure that you're following me on Instagram at shineyourlight.love, and shineyourlightlove_pod is the podcast. And Wildflower Mama Wellness is my holistic wellness page if you want to dive deeper into that kind of stuff, like nutrition and wellness, permaculture, homesteading, homeschooling. And I have a YouTube channel, Shine Your Light Love, and I'll put more information that you can, free gifts and things and courses and ways you can work with me. My Roots and Wings program is the deepest way to work with me. And then also I have several courses. I have my beloved Self-Love, Self-Worth, and Self-Care course. It's a really popular course. It was a live retreat that I hosted, and it's been turned into a course that you can go through self-paced in your own time. So I'm going to have a coupon code for you for that and for Roots and Wings. And I hope you'll follow me there, and also follow me on Insight Timer. The link will be in the show notes, but it's insighttimer.com/Amber Michelle. I have a beautiful course called Peace of Now that's really beautiful for self-love and self-care, moving through the senses, and how that helps you be fully present and very mindful. It's really beautiful for mamapreneurs, and especially for homemakers and homeschoolers. So I hope that you'll go enroll in that. And then I also have a lot of free guided meditations on my Insight Timer page, and I host live streams I've already done live streams that have helped over 36,000 people globally, which blows my mind and is so incredible how God moves. And leads you to do things that you like. This is like exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask, dream, or imagine, because I can tell that story in another podcast. But my whole Insight Timer journey is so beautiful and so God ordained. But and then there's lots of meditations that are beautiful that you can do daily, morning and night. I suggest for some of them, and then the live streams, I host them to 700 plus people at a time globally from all over the world. So it's so fun. So if you can follow me, you'll get notifications of when I'm going live. And so you can join us over there. Those are really beautiful ways to connect in community and feel belonging. I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you for following the podcast. And I invite you to Please give a rating and review. If you can do a 5-star rating and a review, that really helps the show grow and reach more people. And if you send me a message on Instagram that you that and a screenshot of your 5-star review and show notes, then I will send you a free gift. So just say podcast gift, and then send me a DM and I will get that over to you. So thank you for helping the show grow. And I hope that this podcast episode has blessed you tremendously today. Keep shining your light. You are made for a purpose, and you are more than enough. You are loved, you are chosen, and you are worthy. Have a beautiful, blessed day.